Hello, my name is Todd. Let me share my story. I'm originally from the Fargo-Moorhead area. When I was growing up, my parents made my sister and I attend a traditional Lutheran church, which for the most part I didn't like. I hated sitting on hard wooden pews, listening to boring organ music, and lifeless sermons that nearly put me to sleep. Deep down in my heart, I wanted to believe in God, but He wasn't real to me there. I remember I was looking forward to becoming an adult just so I wouldn't have to go to church. But after I went through confirmation, God used a few people to try to reach out to me. At 17, I spent a season attending some Young Life meetings, and at one of them, I asked Jesus Christ to come into my heart, because I was told He would answer my prayers if I did that. Well, it was around this time, I worked at a roller rink, and they had a Christian skate night once a month. And I've heard preachers that were crusading against secular rock music advise us to listen to Christian rock or gospel music only. Well, back then, most of the Christian music I heard I didn't like, and so I thought to myself, if I have to be a good little Christian by listening to this wimpy stuff all day long, then forget it. So I drifted away from the things of God, and in 1985 I moved to Minneapolis to pursue a music career. Prince had just hit a big Purple Rain. A lot of musicians were flocking to the Twin Cities area, and I always wanted to live in a bigger city anyway. I wrote and produced my own electronic music, but I also worked as a disc jockey on the side, mostly in nightclubs. I lived a very hedonistic lifestyle. I thought I was having fun, but soon I realized that my lifestyle was getting me into some legal trouble. In the meantime, I was losing interest working as a DJ. I just got tired of putting up with alcoholics, smoke-filled rooms, and getting requests to play the same old songs every night. So in 1990, I decided I was going to find some other way to earn money. I got involved in a multi-level marketing business. And in my pursuit of trying to build a successful business, I kept hearing how important it was to put your spiritual life in order first, then your family, and then your business. Every time I heard the spiritual part, the thought crossed my mind about going back to church, which for a while I resisted because I thought of the Lutheran church I went to, and I thought, I don't want to go through that again. Well, it was in early 1991, I started dating a woman who attended a full gospel church. She invited me to go with her. Went to 3 services, still resisted the altar call for salvation, but then a personal crisis came up that made me realize I needed to get right with the Lord. I decided to have a talk with my sister and her husband because I knew they were committed Christians. And it was on March 19th, 1991, I drove back up to Fargo, had a long talk with them, and eventually my brother-in-law asked me if I wanted to pray. And I said, sure. So he led me in a sinner's prayer. I asked Jesus to come back into my heart, and when I did that, it felt like a surge flowed throughout my body. All the guilt that I felt from all the sins I committed suddenly lifted. God made Himself real to me. My brother-in-law and sister later told me they prayed for years that I would recognize my need for Jesus. They also prayed I meet a woman who would get me back into church, and they even prayed that they play a part of my salvation. So God definitely answers prayers. Well, it was a few years later I realized God was calling me to full-time ministry. I spent some time working for Billy Graham, and now for almost 3 decades I've been a traveling missionary. I've been in almost every state in the Union, plus a few foreign countries. I do a lot of one-on-one evangelism, using gospel tracts like this, and leading people to receive Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. If someone told me 40 years ago that I would become an evangelist, I wouldn't have believed him. But I enjoy what I do because I enjoy traveling from place to place, introducing people to the Savior. That included being part of a bike wash. I went to Sturgis in 2017. In addition to helping wash bikes, I got to share the gospel on the streets of Sturgis. So hopefully my story has encouraged you to give your life to the Lord if you haven't already done so. If you feel your spiritual life has been boring, unfulfilling, make a fresh commitment to the Lord, because God's able to do exceedingly abundantly above all we could ask or think, according to the power that works in us.